Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today we have a guest by the name of Tyson Smith, and Tyson is a rock star. He's a wholesaler, he's a real estate guy, a real estate entrepreneur at heart, and he's actually been able to do some really cool things in the wholesale world. He's doing 6 figures a month wholesaling, and now he's teaching people how to wholesale. He's helping people. He has a podcast of his own now, and he's achieving a lot of success in his life and in his career. So I'm excited to go ahead and just jump right into the episode.
And spend like a whole weekend with them, and that crazy opened my eyes.
Yeah.
Getting to see how these millionaires behaved, what they did, what they talked about was really pivotal in me beginning my journey. And then I'm getting some carbs already, and I'm in the gym. This has all happened in the first 30 minutes of waking up automatically. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to decide if I'm going to the gym. Already my habits know that the night before I'm falling asleep, I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do in the gym before.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Tyson, how are you living, brother? I appreciate you being on the show, man.
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for having me. It's a beautiful day here.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for better weather, and I'm super excited.
Dude, I love it, man. I know we were talking a little bit before the show and talking a little bit about your journey and, wholesaling and some different things that you're working on. And you're working on some really big stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm really trying to, I was very fortunate to be able to have access to social media, and I get to see guys like you when I just graduated college, get to see people who are killing it, doing things I want, and I look into it, and so many of them are wholesaling real estate.
Yeah.
So naturally got into it, and now I'm just climbing the ladder, and we're on the right road. So.
Yeah. Wholesaling real estate is such a I love the industry, because you can get into real estate with very little capital, right? You can kind of break in. It's kind of the break into real estate kind of niche or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, okay, I don't need to go flip. I don't need to go buy a rental, maybe I don't know how to do that. I can just kind of jump into real estate. So tell me a little bit about your story. Where did you hear about wholesaling? How did you get into it?
So I got my real estate license when I was 18 during summer, in between semesters at school. Tried being a traditional realtor with my dad, absolutely hated it. And then I finished up school, and I'd been studying real estate and finance in college, and I was going to work for a student housing broker, really prominent. They did a lot of deals, and I interned there the summer of my junior year going into my senior year of college. But then I graduated in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, and everything kind of shut off. They were like, "Hey, I know we had a spot, but we're not doing any deals. We don't really have anything for you to do." And luckily, my dad had discovered wholesaling from Templeton Walker, who you had on the show, and he was like, "Dude, you really need to check this out." And at first, I was like, "Dude, I don't really want to." I did the realtor thing. I didn't enjoy that, but he was like, "Really, you need to look into this." Showed me some accounts of some other people, and I started really looking around. And obviously, social media is a magnifying glass of all that's the best, but I just see people who are doing exactly what I want to do. Yeah. And so I look into it more, and I'm like, okay, this seems a little bit kind of crazy. It kind of feels like a scam. But anyway, we got rolling. I decided to roll the dice, go all in on it. So in the middle of the pandemic, when everybody's waiting at home, I'm instead driving to a tiny little office, working off of a fold-up old beer pong table with my laptop on top of it, and I'm just hitting the phones and really just taking action on something I didn't fully know about, and just kind of learned by doing. And from that, I've learned a ton of things. So number one, you mentioned that wholesaling is such a great way to get into real estate, and I absolutely agree, because even though I had my real estate license, I have a minor in real estate, I really didn't know much about how a deal worked or how to analyze, what's a good property, what's a good deal, how do these work, the financing, all of this. But wholesaling allows you to get in the middle of so many transactions. Whereas you can read every single book in the world, but nothing is going to teach you as well as going out there and doing deals. So fast forward, we've done hundreds of wholesale deals. I feel so much more comfortable in all kinds of things, just because this industry puts you around different aspects of real estate. So now I know about creative finance. I know how a traditional deal works. I know what it's like to buy a commercial building. I see what land development looks like in some of the aspects of that. And I've just put myself in such a better position to evolve as a real estate investor.
Yep, I love that. And your dad, what did he do, or what does he do? How did your dad stumble across Templeton Walker? What did that look like?
So he actually brought a deal to Templeton, and it was like, hey, I'm not really sure what to do with this. Like, there's something to be done here, but I don't know what. And Temps was like, just wholesale it.
Yeah.
Like, because the guy wanted a certain price, and he's like, okay. And then he did it, and then all of a sudden, I think he made like 20 grand or something like that, and it was just in a way shorter time period. Didn't have to do much. And I think there was this like identification, like this self-identity thing as an investor versus a realtor that just clicked with him a lot more. And I know it certainly clicked with me.
Yeah.
So I came out, again, my dad's like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, no. But he was like, look, like seriously look into it. And he was like, if we do this, like we'll be 50-50 partners. We'll make it happen. And I was like, all right. So that was huge for me, was like getting the equity and really just being like fully bought in.
Yep.
I think that was massive.
That's awesome.
And so from there, he learned about it from Temp. We start doing deals, and we just start reinvesting like every single penny into our education.
Wow.
I'm talking like if there's a mastermind, we're going to it. If there's some mentorship, we're buying. If there's somebody that we see killing it, I'm reaching out to them and I'm saying, how much do I got to pay you to mentor me?
Yeah.
And then I'm saying everything. We were just constantly reinvesting into systems, reinvesting into hiring, like, you know, our marketing, buying more data, hiring more VAs, everything, until we just built something up that now, you know, spits out cash every single month.
Yeah, that's awesome. What over the years, like what different masterminds have you gone to? Who, you know, name a couple of like your favorite, you know, courses or masterminds that you've done.
Absolutely. So I'll kind of walk you through. I think one of the biggest ones for me that was super eye-opening was we were super early on the investor lift boat, where I can't remember how, but my dad had caught on that this thing was coming out, and we had a call super early with Robert Wensley, and we were able to get on cartel mode. And so this would allowed us to go nationwide super early. And we went to Tulum with a lot of the cartel bosses. So I got to meet, you know, people like Corey Geary, Nick Perry, David Olds, and spend like a whole weekend with them. And that like crazy opened my eyes.
Yeah. Getting
to see how these millionaires behaved, what they did, what they talked about was really pivotal in me beginning my journey of, I don't want to be a college frat boy anymore. I need to drop these habits that I'm doing. What am I wasting my time on? And this is what I want to pursue. I want to become the best at this. So who is the person I need to become in order to do that? And then that started my personal transformation. But then another thing that has been huge in my journey of wholesaling is linking up with RJ Bates. So do you know RJ Bates?
Yeah, I know of him. Yep.
Okay, so I first saw him on the Closers Olympics, which is this contest people do, you know, all of these different business owners to show, hey, like I'm the best closer. I can lock up deals the best. And I see RJ Bates on it, and his like style of talking to sellers is so radically different than what I was used to, right? He's like super upfront, to the point with them, and I was like, this is really cool. And so I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I want to learn from you. He was like, well, I have this event, you should come to it. And I was like, dude, I don't want to go to an event. Like, here's my problem. I have this problem with a lot of real estate events. I don't need to be hyped up or do this, ooh, rah, rah. I wanted to come, I want to learn, hey, what is it that you're doing that's allowing you to do this amount of deals?
Right.
And he was like, no, it's not like that. Like, we will show you. And I was like, I really just want access to you. Yep. He's like, okay. And we worked out a price for like a one-on-one mentorship. But he said, but this included, you must come to the event. I did. The event was amazing. Afterwards, I was like, damn, you really got me, because I don't think I need all the one-on-one. Everything I needed to know was taught during this. And I implemented his strategy, which is virtual nationwide wholesaling. Yep. And we were just able to really run with it. We just took everything he said, put it in our business, didn't ask any questions, and just did, and it worked really well. Yep. And the timing was pretty perfect because we had primarily been in Arizona. That's where we were making most of our money. And as I'm sure you know, over the last couple of months, it's gotten a lot harder here in Arizona. Yeah. It hasn't hit some of these other markets as hard. And so while our business slowed down in Arizona, we had all of the systems necessary to where we could pivot into these other markets where it was still business as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And so since like teaming up with him and really just kind of falling in love with this process that he's created, I've actually ended up partnering up with him on the education side. So that's what I'm now teaching other people, is exactly what RJ was able to teach me. Yep. It was kind of one of those situations where the student has become the master, and now I'm helping others learn along with RJ, and it's just been like so incredible.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about that a little bit more, and I want to really dive into that for the viewers and the listeners. But first, I want to kind of go back. So you're talking about, you hit him up, you negotiate this deal, right? And you're like, dude, like mentor me. I want to learn how to wholesale, but I want to learn how to do it the way you're doing it. Like I want to learn the secret, right?
Yeah.
When you went to that event of his, right? What were maybe a couple of the things that you learned, if you remember, that really changed your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's going to be three main things here. Number one is the way he talks to sellers. So right now, I feel like in the space, there's how many people that are showing you, hey, this is the way, this is the sales process that you need to go through. And RJ's is radically different. It's incredibly simple. It's all about, do you want to sell your house? How much do you want to sell for it? Yes, I can do that number, or no, I can't. And very simple, like it's basically just, hey, we're going to tell them the 100% truth. Hey, look, I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy your house to make money. So in order for me to do that, I have to be here. If that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Then I'm not your buyer. And just moving on. And this was so different than before. We were, had these long scripts that were, I'm having my acquisitions agents fumble through. Everybody sounds robotic. And then we make this dramatic shift to just like, hey, be yourself. You're an investor. You need to get a good deal on the property. Be honest about what you're looking for. When you start to kind of describe your pain of being like, hey, I'm an investor. My pain here is I need to buy this property, cheaply. Then that's going to cause the seller to start talking about what they need. And then if there's a symbiotic relationship to be had there, then we go for it. If not, we can, move into something creative or refer them out to a realtor. Yeah. Any one of these methods. But that was number one, was changing our sales process to what RJ does. That's a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward.
Awesome.
Number two was always thinking about the buyer first, or the end buyer first. So if we think about a wholesale transaction or in a wholesale business, our repeat customers, for the most part, are going to be our cash buyers, right? Those are the people that we're repeatedly doing business. Sure, you might have a seller who sells you a house and then a year later has another one. But the people who are getting us paid are the end buyers. So we're always thinking through the lens of them. So, Austin, if I ask you, hey, did you get a good deal on that sweater? What I'm asking you is, hey, did you get a good price, right?
Sure.
When we're talking about real estate deals, I need to be selling deals. I need to be selling things that I know that whoever's buying this is going to go make money. And we're always thinking through the lens of them. So it's the end buyer first of what is somebody who's going to buy this property at the price that we're shopping it for. What are they going to be able to do and how are they going to be able to make money? If it's a flip, do we have built-in equity where they're going to be able to go crush it and they're going to come back to us every single time we have a deal available because they made so much money in the last one they bought for us? If it's a rental, do we know that this is going to cash flow based on current financing available? We're always making sure that anything we get locked up, that we know, would we want to buy this ourselves? So really, changing our lens of being like, hey, our business here is to serve other people, right? We need to solve these homeowners' problems who have some kind of problem property or some kind of problem situation that we can help take care of, and we're going to provide an amazing investment for another real estate investor.
100%. Yep, that's wholesaling in a nutshell. And I know you're going to move on to number three, the third thing that you learned, but I love what you said for number two, right? I think that a lot of people miss that as wholesalers, and they lock up anything and everything. And it's honestly what gives wholesaling a bad rep.
Exactly.
Right? Because you have all these wholesalers out there that are just trying to get a deal under contract, right? And the problem with that is, like you said, they're not thinking about the end buyer. It's not a deal for anybody. And they're either having to go and price drop the seller in a big way, or they're having to cancel on the seller. And that gives the industry a bad rap.
Absolutely. And that's another thing is that like it gives such a bad rap because of the way that wholesalers are going about it. When I'm on the phone, and I go live on TikTok, people see the way I talk to people. I'm so honest. Like I'm coming through, I'm telling them, hey, I have to buy it at this because I'm looking to make money and I'm going to partner with somebody. And that's why my contract right here, it says I can assign it. It's because I'm going to work with another financial partner and they're going to be the ones who pays me on this. Are you fine with that? Like I'm making sure that we're so direct and people know so that they're not wondering, 5 days after we get the contract, why I need to have somebody else come in. They already know, that's going to be one of our financial partners. That's who's going to end up getting both of us paid.
I love that. Yeah,
right? It's just
I love the transparency. Yeah.
Look, that's another reason why I think wholesalers get such a nasty rap is that they are doing all these, they're spinning these tales. And look, I was guilty of that in the beginning. I absolutely was. I was acting like I was the buyer, things like that, where I know now, look, I'm not. I have no interest in flipping your house. That's not what I do.
Right.
Instead, I link people with a problem house with a real estate investor who needs a great deal. And because of that service that I provide, I'm going to get paid in the middle.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Now, what's number 3?
Number 3 was him changing up the way we did our SMS marketing.
Okay.
So it's very different from how I believe most people are taught and what I've been taught in the past, where most people are like, hey, you have your VAs, they send out a bunch of texts, then you use that to farm leads. Whereas the way that RJ taught us is we're texting a super like hyper niched list that has a lot of motivating factors. So he's going to show you step by step at the event. He shows you step by step how to pull this list, how to filter it out so we're getting the most motivated people, so we're maximizing our marketing dollars because we don't want to be spending money skip tracing leads that that aren't going to want to sell or don't have any indication that they might be in some sort of motivated situation.
Yep.
And then we're going to stack it because we do all of our texting within batch. And we can only send so many texts a day, or else you're going to get flagged as spam, and your texts aren't going to get delivered. So we're only texting super motivated individuals, and we're having our in-house acquisitions agents do this.
If you've ever wanted to get into wholesaling real estate and you want to learn how to flip contracts and wholesale, right? Maybe you're brand new, maybe you've never wholesaled a deal, or maybe you're even doing a couple of deals a month right now, but you want to learn how to do more. Instead of joining my coaching program or somebody else's coaching program, we're actually looking to hire. So go ahead and message me 480-418-5339 and send me a text message opportunity. Okay, so if you want to work with me, you want to work with my incredible team, you want all of our leads, you want all of our systems, all of our processes, everything, right? And I've done about 2,000 wholesale deals in my career, then go ahead, shoot me a text, 480-418-5339, and message me opportunity. And look, especially if you're in my state, okay, the state of Arizona. If you live in Arizona and you want to get into wholesaling, this especially is an opportunity for you because you can come sit right in this office with my entire team and be a part of one of the biggest wholesaling companies in the country. I look forward to talking to you.
And so they're only sending out 500 texts a day. And while they're sending out these texts, they're getting calls, inbound calls from the texts. And some people are, hey, why'd you just send me a text? Whatever, they're pissed off. But other people are like, hey, you just texted me. I do have a house I need to sell. I'll sell it for 80 grand. I just need to get rid of it.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, perfect.
I love that.
And then our conversation is, all right, yeah, we look at it. Okay, our MAO is 80. Okay, yeah, we can do 80 grand. Where do we send the contract?
Yep. I love that. Yeah. Simple, easy, effective. Now, is texting, are you still doing texting to this day?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people in the industry that they gave up texting. They're not doing it. They don't want to do it. There's a lot of, as you know, texting is a very interesting marketing method.
Look, I was in the same boat before before going. I was super against texting. We had done it before, and I was like, no, look, you need to be on the phone. If you're going to get somebody to sell their house, you need to be on the phone. But I'll tell you what. Guess what? We're locking up deals, never even getting on the phone, all having the conversation over text.
Yeah.
Look, if somebody wants to text you and they're fine with having the conversation that way, why do you need to?
Of course.
If somebody's talking about apples, you have no reason to start talking about oranges.
Yep.
Why you get on the phone with them if they're perfectly fine texting you? And so the big difference is having our acquisitions people doing it and not a VA or something like that. We have the people who are trained to comp, send out the contracts, and get deals closed.
Yep.
All right.
Have you run into any problems with compliance with texting?
Oh, I mean, just as we would with cold calling,
of course.
But I've gotten more pending lawsuits from cold calls than I have from texting. I've never
Interesting.
gotten
I'm the opposite. I've gotten more from texting, but I mean, it's a fine. You pay the fine, and typically, the people, they want $1,000 or whatever, right? And it's just, I mean, I look at it like it's the cost of doing business, right? So, and you can minimize that. I mean, by, like you said, just getting the right data and scrubbing the data and making sure that you're obviously, your batch is a little different. You're limited to the amount of text you can send every day. And I mean, there's a way that you can minimize your risk.
And again, I just do right by people. If somebody says, hey, don't ever call me again, don't ever text me again. Okay, fine, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. Done deal.
I only want to talk to the guy who wants to sell their house. I don't want to talk to you.
Yep, I completely agree. And I love that because I think that there's a lot of people that have been trained to just beat that seller over the head and it's like, well, and I've always said the same thing, right? If you're not going to sell a seller on selling their house, right? They either are or they aren't. Like it's their house you're talking about, right? So it's like they're either going to sell it or they're not going to sell it, but you're not going to convince them to sell it. I mean, like, you might convince them that you're the guy, right? Like if they've already decided that they want to sell it. that's what you may be convincing them of. You do that through building rapport and trust, right? You don't do that through beating them over the head.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. What other, where do you get like your data and stuff like that? And
everything from batch.
Okay.
And I always thought, I was like, no, these people out there, they're crushing it. They're getting they have some other, some other place where they're getting it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, we are pulling our data from batch, same as everything else. We have some specific filters that we go through and do. And then we are really, the big thing is how we stack our lists to make sure that we're texting the ultra motivated people and then we're still cold calling it all just the same. But look, there's no secret list. There's no secret anything out there. It's a matter of doing what works and doing it consistently. That's the biggest problem with marketing is people will try something, they'll try it for a month and it doesn't work. And they're like, oh, no, that doesn't work. No, stay consistent. Every single month, we're skip tracing those 50, 60,000 records. We're going through, we're pulling the list the exact same way. We're stacking them. We're doing our marketing. That's how we get consistent.
Is text messaging your only marketing currently?
No. So we'll pull in the beginning of the month. We take a look and we're like, okay, what markets are doing really well for us right now? We need to repull those markets. What do we need to go? Where should we go into? We're going to pull those markets, and then we pull, like I said, 50, 60,000 records. Yeah, we're going to skip trace it, and then we're going to send that over. It's going to be cold called. Then we're going to start stacking those lists, and then every single day we're going to send our acquisitions agents a list of 500 people to go through and text. Now, our big push right now is moving into PPC. So we've done PPC before, and this is kind of a learning experience for us because it was right when we first got on it with InvestorLift, and we're like, hey, we're going to become nationwide wholesalers. Let's start running PPC in every single market. I know where this
story's gone.
Yep. So all of a sudden, we're getting all these deals. We're locking up contracts like crazy.
In the middle of Kentucky.
Yep. And with these cheap, like $30 cost per clicks. And you can't sell them. Nobody wants to buy them.
Nobody wants to buy them.
Yeah.
Goes back to your point number 2 of what you were talking about a little while ago. Look at your buyer. Look through the lens of the buyer.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So now the way we're doing it this time, ultra focused on where do people want to be buying houses, and then we're harnessing the power of Google because Google's a lot smarter than I am, and they can find out. They know everything about you. So I want them to find the guy or the girl who is very desperate, needs to sell their house, needs to sell it fast. And basically just teaming up with some key people who know how to find that. And we're going to start hitting that super hard coming into 2023.
I also think that going into 2023, pay-per-click in general will any type of marketing like pay-per-click, in my opinion, will work better just in general because now you have more motivation in the market, right?
Yes.
So the bandit sign or the pay-per-click ad that's sell my house fast for cash or whatever, right? Like there's more of that in the market. More people need to go that route than they did a year ago or they did 8 months ago, right?
Yep.
So I think just in general, pay-per-click will be better, but then like you said, honing it down and really niching it down, I think will even make it, even better than that.
Well, it's the long-term play. I mean, you think about anything you want, you're going to Google and you're searching for it, right? Or whether if it's not Google, if you want to learn something, you're going to YouTube, or if you just know exactly what you want to buy, you're going to Amazon.
Yep.
But that's where people are going to find out information. So you got to be there. Like it's the way of the future.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that cold calling is great, texting is great. We're not going to turn that off. We're going to keep doing that. But the problem with PPC is it's cost prohibitive.
Yep.
Right? Because you've got to be able to spend some serious money if you want to get a return. And so the beginner wholesaler is not going to feel comfortable spending the 10, 20, 30 grand a month on PPC. So that's where you start with the cold calling. You pull the list, you hire some cold callers, you send out some texts, you start getting deals, reinvest that money into once you have 30, 40 grand to play around with, then you can, set a budget for 10, 15 grand a month for the next 3 months and then start ripping some major deals.
Yeah, I love that. What do you guys currently do for cold calling? You say you've done or do cold calling still to this day? Do you have VAs in the Philippines? Or?
Yeah, so my brother actually, he owns a VA company and he takes care of all of it for us. It's amazing. I mean, so I've worked with a lot of different agencies, but my brother, he has all of our VAs and he does them for other people as well. But our process is super simple. So some people have their VAs going on this crazy like scripts and things like that. No. Our VAs are asking 4 questions. Do you want to sell your property? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, okay, done. Next person. Who's living in the property? Are you living there? Do you have a tenant? If there's a tenant, how much are they paying in rent? And are they like on a lease or is it month to month? Or is it vacant? That's question number 2. If they answer that, we move on to the next one. What's the condition of the property?
Yep.
Is it, and we give them an answer. We don't let them, that's not open answer. It's, hey, would you say the condition of the property is excellent, good, fair, poor, or scary?
I like that.
Then that fills out, that shoots into our Podio web form, right? And then the final question is, and how much do you want for it? And if they answer those questions, so they have to answer in the affirmative in the beginning one. Yep. Yes, I want to sell my house. They have to tell us what's the occupancy of the property. They have to tell us what the condition of the property, and they have to give us a price. If they do those 4 things, the lead gets transferred over, and a team here in our office is going to reach out to them and figure out if we're going to be a good fit.
I love that. And what has been your success with that particular strategy and cold calling? And then have you ever done it another way? Like, did your script at one point used to be more complicated?
Oh man,
and then you simplified it.
I've done everything in the book. Like when I was doing acquisitions, I tried it out where I was having them like get all the information about the property, doing all of this like crazy stuff, and I realized look, I just want a volume game. I want to get over as many people who raised their hand and said, yeah, I'd be interested in selling. Put that in the hands of our trained people who know real estate. They know how to spot somebody who's motivated. They know how to find and create a solution for somebody, and just get them over into our play as soon as possible. And the biggest thing is to get on the phone with them and qualify them fast. Figure out, is this person actually motivated? Because if they're not, no, move on to the next person. It's volume game.
Yep, I agree,
right?
1,000,000%.
We don't need to, like, if the person is, like, I don't want to convince, like we said, I'm not going to convince somebody to sell their house to us. So if they don't want to, no problem, done, delete the lead, guess what? We're going to skip trace and we're going to market to that lead again in 3 more months.
100%.
So,
yeah. I love that. I think that you've got it right on the money with the cold calling. We do very, very, very similar to you. And I've done a lot of cold calling in my life. We've, we were buying, we still to this day buy 1 million records at a time. We skip trace 1 million. I think the last time we skip traced was like 2.2 million records at one time. So, we'll dial, I mean, in our prime, we'll dial 100,000 people a day, depending on the season that we're in, right?
Wow.
I don't think we're dialing as much right this very second. We're going into, obviously, December, so we cut it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love that, man. I love that. So talk to me about the business, okay? So here you are, you learn wholesaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what does it look like next? I mean, like, I would imagine you're the act guy in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Okay. Walk me through the journey. I mean, like, what happened? You obviously trial and error. Did you eventually get an office? Did you hire people?
Yeah.
Walk me through the evolution.
So like I said in the beginning, it's me and my pops working off a beer pong table, and we're in this tiny little office, and then we start to where we're consistently doing deals. We move to a bigger office, and we start hiring acquisitions people.
Okay.
Now, the first lesson I learned is I don't have any of the systems and processes to train an acquisition person. So it's like I can't just say, hey, sit here, watch me, and do what I do after I do it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Doesn't work.
That does not work.
Okay.
And so it's funny, the universe will keep trying to teach you the same lesson until you learn how to do it. So we had tons of different people come through and didn't have success, and it was just like, dude, if I'm not the one like making the calls, this doesn't work. And again, the universe just keeps trying to teach us that lesson over and over again. And eventually I have to realize, okay, clearly training and managing a salesperson is not my strong suit. Mm-hmm. So what really turns it around for us is when we're able to hire an operations manager, and somebody who has experience managing salespeople, training them, and he completely changed the game.
Wow.
Where all of a sudden it's like, oh, you can do this. So I was very fortunate to bring on my childhood best friend, and he had been managing a debt collection law firm in Los Angeles. And I was like, dude, I mean, we're doing something cool here. We're going to build this to the top. Like, do you want to come, like, are you having fun over there? Yeah. Or like, do you want to help me build something? He's like, dude, let's go, let's build this. So he came on, and basically we showed him what wholesaling was. We showed him the ropes, and he's a great manager, right? He's a great leader. He knows how to rile people up. He knows how to stay focused, keep people focused, hold people accountable, and just super organized. So since we brought him on, now we're routinely training every single day. We're having all of our acquisitions people are with him, and they're reviewing their calls. They're listening to their calls, figuring out what could they have done better. We're doing weekly trainings where it's coming on. It's like, hey, today we're going to role play giving an offer, and we're going to focus on this objection. And these are all found from when they're doing the call reviews, right? So pull some real life scenario of, okay, hey, we noticed that this person did not do this right. Let's all practice it so it's done the right way. As well as doing supplementary training on things like real estate. Like, hey, here's how we pitch creative finance. We'll do comp trainings. Yep. Hey, here's how to spot a good innovation deal, and here's how you want to pitch it. Things like that. Yeah. So it's just really reinvesting in the team and being organized on it. Now, when I was first training people, it's like I knew to do these things. It's just that I fly by the seat of my pants, man. I'm not good at like having a set schedule of like, hey, every single day we're going to do this at this time. Every single week we're going to do this.
That wasn't you.
No.
Yeah. And it took you realizing and recognizing that, which is actually a really big deal. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, I think they you got to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? And you have to be willing to let that be that way. I mean, it is like, I can't really, it's not worth it for me to go try to be good at something that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you just have to recognize, hey, I'm the roadblock here. I'm the problem. As much as you want to be the guy who can solve every single problem, that's just not scalable. You need to be able to put in excellent people, which we were having the conversation about, is finding the phenomenal person who can come through, who is good at that. That's what they do naturally, and let them thrive.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, man. I think that's huge, and I think it'll change people listening and watching their business. I mean, wholesaling is an industry where but it, you just if once you have the right information and you do it the right way, like anybody can do this.
Oh yeah,
it's not hard, right? Like we're not in a hard business. It's just like do it, man.
Dude,
like,
you're selling a piece of paper.
It's all it is, dude. Like you got to get good at different things and what have you. So, what were a couple of the biggest challenges that you had in scaling to where you're at today? And it could be anything. It could be hiring. It could be systems, processes. I mean, just in general.
So number one is the first challenge I think I had was I started to kind of doubt. I was like, is this really real? Like, yes, I know you can kind of one-off, go make some money and do some deals here. But I was like, I felt like maybe some of these people on Instagram, like they were making all their money for coaching. Like, were they really doing as much deals as they thought they were? And it's because I had this scarcity mindset of there's not that many deals out there. But when you start to look at how many pre-foreclosures there are in just Arizona right now, and then just the world, and you look at how many properties have liens on them, you start to realize, no, there are a lot of people who need your help. The deals are out there. So that was step number one, was kind of overcoming my scarcity mindset. Yeah. There are just enough deals out there for me and you, but for everybody.
Yeah.
Like people will ask me sometimes, they'll be like, oh, you're not afraid to show like your secret sauce of what it is you do. And I'm like, well, number one, it's not that secret. Like I'm just showing you exactly what works. Like it's, trust me, it's not rocket science here. We're just showing you that. But also, there are so many people who need help. And what I want is to show somebody who can effectively go and help this person, who is not going to inflate the price of their home just to get a deal. Right? They're not going to say, oh, well, yeah, maybe we could do that. Let's lock this up and then have you waste your 15 days while I try and find a buyer. And all of them say, oh, no, it needs to be $100,000 less. Yep. Right? Training people to do it the right way so they can go out there and effectively solve some people's problems and make some real estate investors a ton of money. Getting rid of the scarcity mindset. But number two, the biggest thing is I had to realize that the person I was when I first started is not the guy who's going to be able to run a 6-figure a month company, or, who eventually my goal right now is I want to get to $1 million a month. Yeah. And the guy I was would never be able to do that. I wasn't focused. I was doing the wrong things. I'm spending my time partying. It's like I'm working super hard building the business Monday through Friday, and all of a sudden Friday rolls around, and nope, it's time. I'm Mr. Party. I want to go out. I want to go to Old Town. I want to go drink, party, do nothing. Essentially, I mean not nothing, but just kind of wasn't focused. Yeah. And then I realized is like that guy he's not capable or responsible to have the wealth that I say I want. I have to change some things. And so I'd say that's the number one biggest thing I'm thankful for from wholesaling is it has allowed me to recognize that in order for me to become the person I say I want to be, I need to make some changes. I need to get serious about some things. And just kind of taking a look in the mirror and being like, do I really want to be the kind of person who can manage a $1 million a month company? Yeah. And the answer is, yeah, I do. Am I willing to make the sacrifices that it's going to take to get there? Because it's not just going to fall in your lap. And so that is kind of like, it's a hard thing, man, to look at yourself and admit that you're messing up in some places of your life.
It's a really hard thing. What happened? Like, walk me through that in particular, because I think a lot of people need to hear this. What happened? Like, you wake up one day, you're like, dude, like, I'm like you just talked about, right? Like, I'm not the guy right now. Like, I think I'm the guy, but I'm really not the guy. Not that I need to be perfect, but the actions just aren't lining up to who I say I want to be, right? And then what was that process like? You know, was it just a switch you just flipped and like the next day you're a new person, or like walk me through the process of you changing?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, the universe is going to try and teach you the same lesson over and over again until you learn it. And I realized I was in this cycle of, all right, work really hard, take 3 steps forward building my business, and then take 3 steps back the weekend when I just go out and blow the top off things. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm recovering from a gnarly hangover. And this was every single week. Like every single Monday, I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit. Like I need to build myself back up again. And it just took like literally like, I don't know, probably a year of me doing that, where it was like, look, I'm making progress. I am building this company, but it's not going where I want to. It's not going as fast. And to kind of seriously be like, okay, what's the problem here? And I just realized it was the lack of focus, and that led from, it was me drinking and partying all the time. And I wasn't able to be the guy I needed to be because of it. And so it wasn't like that just happened. I realized it, and then it was like, okay, I'm just nose to the grindstone, never hitting the bottle ever again, anything like that. It just kind of all of a sudden realizing it, and then you know, kind of opening up, like talking to like my girlfriend, and you know, having the conversation with her, and having a conversation with my mom of being like, do you think that this is like impeding my ability to do what I want to do? And people have been like, oh yeah, it probably is. As well as I was able to have a conversation with Templeton Walker. He came into my office, and you know, he's a close friend of my dad, and we were just talking, and he was kind of talking about how he was sort of like felt like a lot of the same thing when he was my age. And to have somebody who I really looked up to, who was doing the things I wanted to do, kind of like be able to relate to in such a way, that was really the thing that first got me thinking like, okay, maybe I've got a problem somewhere. And again, it wasn't like I had that conversation and then it was just, okay, done. It was, I had to fall on my face a couple more times. And it wasn't like something big. Like, it's not like I ever like did anything bad, never like went to jail or did anything crazy or got like arrested. Like, it was just that I wake up and feel bad.
Yeah, you weren't being efficient. I mean, you were just, you know, you weren't, there's a line, right? And it's like, you can drink, like you can have a good time. It's like, to your point, it's just like, okay, what do you want more, right? Like, doesn't mean you can't go do that. Like, I'll drink a glass of scotch right now, right? I enjoy a nice glass of scotch, but you probably won't find me in Old Town anymore, right? And I was where you were once, just so you know, like I was the dude. I was in Old Town every freaking weekend of my life, you know, and many years ago now, but same exact thing, right? Where like, I'm like, dude, like, what am I doing, right?
Well, it was a little bit of my identity. That's the guy I wanted to be. I wanted to be the life of the party. Like, you know, that's what I got like enjoyment out of. And that's one thing that I give myself grace for, is like, that was a time in my life. I enjoyed it. It's not like I regret it or anything like that. I'm glad that I was able to recognize that I needed to step up and become someone new. But it was a different season of my life. And all of a sudden I realized is like, look, I could go ahead and I could keep doing this and whatever. I could live a very normal life. But I keep saying that I want to have this extraordinary life. Yeah. But my actions are not backing that up. And so it's kind of twofold things. Is one, when I was able to establish a clear vision of who the person I wanted to be and what I wanted to accomplish was. And then from there, start establishing habits that where I could do every single day that eventually would turn me into that guy. And part of that was like, hey, there's no more partying in Old Town. It's
not going to work.
Yeah, the guy you want to be doesn't do that. So maybe one day, eventually, once I'm done doing the things I need to do, then maybe we'll talk and see what that is. But right now, dude, I'm full speed ahead. I've got a goal. I've got things. I got people I need to take care of. I've got things that I want to accomplish. And I'm not going to take a night of, I don't know, doing nothing, whatever. I mean, that stuff's like not even like, it's not who I am anymore, you know?
Why do you think, in your opinion, people don't, you see a lot of people that are your age, my age, younger, a little older, you know, somewhere between their 18 and 30-ish, where they don't have the realization. Like, they just keep partying.
It's comfortable. It's what everybody does.
Yeah.
You know, it's the normal thing to do. That is the normal thing to do, is to live for the weekend and go out and have a good time on the weekend. That's what's normal. Yep. But it was once I got the vision of who it was I needed to be, working towards that was way more fun than going out and getting drunk ever could be. Like that gives me way more fulfillment than that ever did. But I think that people lack a lot of vision. Have you ever read Outwitting the Devil?
I have.
So drifting, right? That's a little bit what I was doing. I didn't have a purpose. Once you're able to conceptualize and crystallize a purpose of what it is you're doing, that's when everything starts to make sense for you. That's when the universe will start all just putting things in your favor.
You're 100% right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think people are just on autopilot. They're not even conscious. They're unconscious. I mean, they're just going through the motion, right, of life. You know, they don't really like know why they're here. They don't really have some greater calling or vision, right? It's just like, man, like it's just show up, get a paycheck, get paid, go home, work. Like they're just totally on autopilot,
right.
You know?
Well, I was asking my team today. So every single morning we have these morning meetings. We go over, we talk about our wins, things like that. And it sometimes just lead into, you know, talking about personal growth and whatnot. And I was talking to them and I was like, I pulled up my phone and I was like, I have my screen time this week. I've got 6 hours on Instagram. Now I do stuff on Instagram. I'm posting videos and doing whatever. So like, it's not like I'm just sitting there like doom scrolling, but I was like 6 hours. I was like, can you imagine if last week you spent 6 hours thinking about what you want out of life and really analyzing it? Like, when was the last time you seriously thought, where do I want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, it's not like I do it all the time, but that's what it takes is to sit and seriously think about something like that. And it's hard. It's hard to stay focused. Just for right now to sit down and close my eyes and try to envision where I'm going to be in 5 years. I wonder how long it would take before my mind gets distracted and I start thinking about something else.
Not very long.
Right?
Yep.
And so it's a skill, right? You've got to constantly realign and refocus yourself and say, okay, am I being the person I need to be to get to where I want to be in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's seriously thinking about it because right now, the majority of people have asked them, okay, hey, what do you want? If you could have anything, they're going to say, oh, give me $1 billion. And then once you start going down the rabbit hole with them of, okay, what are you going to spend? Okay, once you have that, then what? Then what? Then what? And it all comes down to, and most people are going to have like these very central things, right? And I think it's just, here's where I'm at still, is because while my vision has gotten a lot clearer, it still isn't there. It still isn't, because I believe that once I have it exact, then at that point it's going to be reality.
Sure.
I think that as I continue to grow and I continue to think about this, that one day it's going to be to a point where I could write it down in a sentence and it would be exactly what it is I'm chasing, what it is I'm after. And I think once I get to that moment, I'll already have it.
100%, and then there'll be a new thing right after that.
Oh, of course.
You know, because you're never there. I've driven a lot of cool cars, man. I've traveled the world. I've done a lot of dope stuff, and yeah, it's all baloney, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just we're here to help and serve and give and love, and we're here to change the world, I believe. And you could have a dope car along the way. Don't get me wrong. You could have a dope watch along the way, but the moment you make it about other people, which I know you do, because I can feel the energy, right? You're talking about sellers and serving the seller, providing a solution, right? That's what people need to hear, right? But that's what life's all about, right? You know, and I think that the more people that get in line with that, right? Like that becomes the goal. Like, hey, how do I change other people's lives?
Yes.
How do I get 100 people in my organization to make $100,000 a year? How do I get 10 people to make $1 million a year, right? And the moment you put it on and make it about them, dude, you'll achieve everything you've ever wanted by default.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've made the biggest thing I'm conscious of right now is always thinking about like what kind of energy am I radiating and who am I motivating? What kind of example am I serving? Yeah. Because when I come into my office, if I'm a grouch, if I'm not like leading people to be the best of themselves, then they're not going to be.
Agreed.
And that's what I asked for when I became a business owner. I asked to be the leader, to be the guy who's going to motivate my team. And exactly what you're saying, who's going to be able to say, listen, I'm going to help you achieve every single one of your dreams. Because I know that you want them because you're here in this seat and you're hanging out with people like me who are just talking about what I am right now. And they are thinking about what it is they want and they're making these goals. And so if I can't give them every single opportunity and tool they need to get there, then I'm failing. Yep. And it's becoming just a thing about helping other people. And what you get from doing that is, you're absolutely right, 1,000,000 times better than any other thing.
I couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, I could not agree more. What is If you're a real estate agent or a real estate wholesaler, then you know that lead generation is one of the most important aspects to any business. You know that you have to consistently generate leads on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That way your team has people to call, and that way you're constantly getting new opportunities in your company. I actually partnered up with a company called Rocket Lead Services, and they have VAs that are outbound cold calling on your behalf every single day. In my experience, there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads as an agent or as a wholesaler. You can do pay-per-click, you can drive for dollars, you can do text messaging, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so much more. In my experience, I believe that cold calling is by far the #1 way to generate leads in 2022. Not only is it my favorite way, but it is the highest ROI from what I've ever found. So Rocket Lead Services is one of the best companies out there for doing just that. They have virtual assistants that get assigned to you and to you only that are constantly calling motivated sellers to generate leads for your business. Again, this is for anybody looking to generate seller leads for their business. This is for a solo real estate agent looking to do a couple of deals a month, all the way to teams that have over 100 agents and you're looking to generate more leads for your team. Wholesalers that are looking to generate more seller leads, all the way to wholesalers that are looking to do many, many deals per month. Go to www.rocketleadservices.com and go ahead and book your free consultation. Again, that is www.rocketleadservices.com and book your free consultation. Now, let's get back to the show. A couple of the biggest pieces of advice you give like a brand new wholesaler trying to break into the industry, like they're watching the video, they want to get into real estate, they want to wholesale, maybe they don't have a bunch of money, they don't have a bunch of time, maybe they don't have a bunch of money, they've got all the time in the world. Let's do that one.
Gotcha.
Right? What do they do?
So if you're looking to get into wholesale, you don't have a bunch of money, but you have a bunch of time. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Stop looking for books, stop looking for podcasts, stop looking for sales training, stop looking for any of that. You know what wholesaling is, and that's all you need to know is you know you are looking for discounted property that you can put under contract and sell to a real estate investor. Is what you need to do is start finding that discounted property any way you can. Now, there are a bunch of free ways you can start doing that. You can start going on Zillow for sale by owners. You can start looking at Zillow for rent by owner and start calling up those people who have properties that they have for rent and start seeing if maybe instead they just like to sell it. You can start door knocking. You can start walking around your neighborhood looking for houses that might need a little bit of work, knocking on the door. Hey, my name is Tyson. I work for real estate investors in the area. I'd really love to connect you with somebody. Would you be interested in getting an offer for your home? Something like that, right? It's taking action. You're going to learn 1,000,000 times faster, and it's actually going to be ingrained in your head by actually doing rather than looking at a book or listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so many of these things, people feel like they're moving forward. I talk to a lot of people who say, hey, look, I'm getting into wholesaling. Look at what I've already done. And it's all performative. It's, look, I started my LLC. Look, I got my website up and running, which these are things that you need to do once you're making money.
Yeah.
Step number 1 is go actually do some deals, solve somebody's problem. Find that person who needs to sell a property. And I might be a little bit extreme with this. Like people will send me a DM like, hey, I need help with my contract. And I'll say to them, well, do you have a seller who's looking to sell their property at a discount? They say, well, no, but I want to have one for when I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Dude, I've done a deal on a napkin.
Yeah.
At McDonald's, and I opened escrow with the napkin.
No kidding.
Not kidding, bro.
Was it just?
Yes, Austin Zaback, or I might have had an LLC at the time. In buying I just wrote it out on a napkin at McDonald's. I met them in Maryvale in 2015, 2014, and I did a deal on a napkin. I opened up escrow. I said, earnest money to be $100, blah, 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 blah. Close of escrow to be buyer and seller agree to the following, and you don't, and to your point, right? Like you don't need to have it all figured out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to, and look and accept that. You need to realize that as soon as you start being honest about everything, things just work out so much better for you. It's because they're like, well, what if the seller asks me? And just be honest with them. Just be like, hey, this is my first time doing this.
Yep.
But don't worry, because look at me. I'm a hustler. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to take care of you. Yep. And that just comes down to confidence as well, is just being able to step up and be like, dude, I am serious about learning this. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to solve your problem for you. But I love that so much, dude. I did a deal on a napkin. Talk about just taking action.
Dude, I remember the story, bro. I followed up with them forever. I'll make the story really short, but I followed up with them forever. It was like a year, bro. Like
Really?
and then finally it was like a hoarder house, and it was a pain, right? It was a nightmare. There's a bunch of people living there, and only one of the dudes that owned it was on the title. He was never there. There's like 14 other people with sleeping bags, and so, dude, when I finally got them there, like we drove around to they wanted food. Like I wanted to get a deal done and sign a contract, and they wanted to go eat, right? And I wasn't leaving, right? Like I'm like, and they wanted to go to Mickey D's, and so we drove to Mickey. They followed me because I had maps, and I was like, okay, you can come in the car behind me, right? But they didn't have a cell phone; it was just a landline, right? So I knew that if a light was like turning yellow,
you got to slow down.
I got to slow down, bro, because if I lose them, it's done. We're never getting the deal, And dude, I remember we went to 3 or 4 different McDonald's to find like a playground where their kids could play. Like we drove up to one, they're like, oh, our kids can't. They got nothing to do, So I went to 3 more, and then finally we sat down. I bought them a bunch of chicken nuggets and a bunch of stuff, and then, dude, I was like, hey guys, like I want to buy your property. I'm serious, what? And we've been talking for a little while, right? And I didn't have a contract or anything because they caught me off guard,
Yeah.
I just happened to be in that area, and so I just looked around. I grabbed a napkin. I asked for a pen, and that was it. I left there, went to the title company, and opened up escrow.
Yeah.
And the deal closed. Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that a big lesson that I could take from this that is, I always tell people when it comes to like sales and closing is the best closer is going to be somebody who can help somebody make the decision that they need to make. It might be scary. It might be selling their house, but where you have the confidence and the ability to say, look, obviously there's something going on in that situation. People are sleeping in sleeping bags. None of you guys have cell phones, right? They're in a bad situation. Something needs to change. And you're able to help them get through that. And even if it's by, we need to look at this napkin and get your John Hancock on here so we can get this house sold, get you some money, and get you on a better situation.
And they did, dude. They came out on top. They made 60 or 70 grand. I mean, I hope they spent it wisely. You can't control that, obviously, but their plan was to go buy an RV and travel the world and, or the nation or the country or whatever. And I think that's what they did. I hope that's what they did, and I hope they got out of that situation. So I agree with you 1,000,000% when you're talking about like fire ready aim, man. Like jump off the cliff and build the parachute on the way down, right? Like stop trying to solve problems that aren't problems yet, right?
Yes.
I completely agree.
That's the perfect way to put it. People are making up problems for themselves before they exist. Tackle things one thing at a time. And right now your biggest problem is you don't have anybody who wants to sell their house at a discount. And you focus on that thing first. And then after that, you can start worrying about these other things. Because guess what? All of that other stuff is easy. That stuff all falls in line real fast.
If you're brand new, would you say to somebody to find another wholesaler that has buyers? Or should they go try to pivot now after they spent all their time and energy trying to find a seller? Say they get a contract now, right? They've got a seller.
Right.
How should they sell the deal if they're brand new?
So exactly to your point, you want to... So here's the thing. You can in the beginning, you spend all your time on marketing and acquisitions trying to get that contract. Then once you have that contract, you don't have any of the systems or have buyers or someone to sell it to. So then you're going to spend all your time doing that. And then once you have that sold, now you're back to square one.
Yep.
You weren't doing anything else to get other contracts. So I think it's in your best interest. It's exactly what I did in the beginning. Was every single deal I got, I was having somebody else sell it, whether that was Keegley or I'm selling to all the big, so my main thing is like for the first year I was wholesaling. Keegley, Zach Keeps, Templeton Walker, every single deal I got.
Love that.
Going through them.
Yeah.
And it's so much better because one, they can show you exactly how it needs to be done. That's the thing is you bring value to them. You say, hey, I have this deal. Let's go 50-50 on it. Just all I ask is you CC me on all the emails so I can see exactly how it works. Yep. They're going to say, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, you can even come to my office and I'll walk you through and answer any of your questions for you because you're going to make them a bunch of money.
Of course. Yeah.
And you do that. And over time, you start to see, okay, we're selling this one to this guy again. Okay. And then you meet that guy and then you have a relationship and you're good to go. But focus on one thing at a time. And in the beginning, it's about contracts. Right, that's what you need to do. If you're not getting contracts, then you're not making any money.
Yeah.
And then once you have free money or freed up money, I should say, then you can start investing into building these systems for finding buyers yourself and go out and do everything on your own. But in the beginning, when you don't have a team, you don't have the systems and process, leverage other people.
Yeah.
Because it's really what you're doing is you're kind of just hiring somebody who's more advanced, more capable.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're hiring somebody that just they know a buyer, like they have a buyer, right? Like you don't have to I think you said it perfectly where and I preach the same thing, right? Like you can't be pivoting from all your time and energy spent on finding a seller, which really is where the money's at, right?
Yeah.
And then, now you're trying to pivot and go try to find a buyer and you're not looking for another seller, right? So your business dies. It's not, at that point, you're not running a business, right?
Yeah.
You've got a side hustle, And I agree with you. If your goal is to turn it into a profitable company, like you actually want to make, I'm looking at your thing here, you make 6 figures a month wholesaling, right? Eventually, more than that. Then you've got to turn it into a duplicatable business, and you do that by you've got to get more than one deal under your belt.
Brick by brick. You start with one thing, perfect the acquisitions. After you're done with that, then you start on the dispositions, and then you start dialing in all of the transaction coordination, and then it's the operations, and then before you know it, you have a full-fledged, absolute seamless machine that spits out cash. But it's not built overnight.
It is not built overnight. Your mantra is. The world is as you see it. Tell me what that means to you.
So if you go out, and I know a lot of pessimistic people, and they think everybody's out there to get them, and everybody is bad, and they're going to cheat them. And if that's how you see things, it's absolutely how it's going to be. But I go out, and I see the best in people. I expect people to want to help me and to be helpful themselves and to see the best in things always. And because of that, it seems to always happen. Like if I expect for good things to happen to me, good things just happen to me. It's how it is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So people get very wrapped up in criticizing other people and other things, and I found myself doing it. I caught myself. I told this story the other day. I was in the airport, and I was kind of like in a hurry. I was going to miss my flight, and I'm sitting around, and in my head, I'm kind of looking over, and I'm judging everybody, and I'm roasting people in my head, right? And I just realized for a second, I'm just this big ball of negative energy. And then all of a sudden, I flip my switch. I'm like, every single person I just made fun of, I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to figure out something good that I can see with them. And I start to think about, how loved that person probably is by their grandkids, or like how funny that person could be, these different things. And all of a sudden, I can feel myself just vibrate at a higher frequency, just being a better person. It immediately feels better. If you start and you're conscious about treating your mind like a garden, as I can't remember the author, but as a man thinketh, he talks about you got to treat your mind like a garden. You got to get rid of the weeds. You got to get rid of the pebbles and the rocks and things like that. Instead, replace it with fruits and flowers. So I recognize every single time I have a negative thought, I recognize, why am I having this right now? Is this serving me? Is this productive? Is this a beautiful thought? Is it useful? Is it a useful thought? No? Get it away. It's done. We replace it with something new. I drove by into my office, and my office is right by a bus stop, and I see a tent, like a homeless guy. And I was like, my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, shit, like that needs to go. Like, I don't like having that there. Like, but I realized, I was like, dude, why? Like, why am I kicking this guy while he's down? Like, that sucks. And instead, I was like, dude, I feel really bad. Like, I hope that guy's able to get some help, some things like that. And that's just one of those situations that I know, like, happened yesterday. But I've gotten myself, just trained my mind to I'm not kidding. Every single time I have a negative, lazy, bad, unproductive thought, recognize it. Yeah. And then turn around, flip the switch. And now over time, I don't have as many anymore. It's just like good things just keep happening to me, and opportunities are finding their way into my lap. And it's because I see the world as one that works in my favor.
I love that. I think that you hit the nail right on the head, and everybody should live their life like that, right? And everybody should have that optimistic outlook on life. And I think you couldn't have said it any better. I preach it all the time. I love that. And I think that for some reason people struggle with that, man. Like, why do people struggle with that?
It's a negative world, dude. There are so many people, and there are so many constructs out there that want to. Now, I don't mean to get all hippie weirdo, but they're trying to steal your energy, right? Like, you got things like the news and a lot of social media, and a lot of these figures are out there, and they are preaching fear and scariness, and the sky is falling. When, dude, that's not the case. Like, look outside your window, man. Like, it's a new day. The sun is shining. I mean, it's shining here at least. Yeah. And there's so many beautiful things going on. You have access to the internet. Like, you can go learn pretty much anything right now at your fingertips. There's so much opportunity in the world today. Like, we can fly around on planes. The world just got a lot smaller. We can all learn. You can go get a Harvard education for free. Yeah. Now, people don't, but you can. Yep. Instead, they use their phone to look at pictures of cats and naked girls. Like if you just start to realize every single advantage, we're not having like world wars going on right now. I mean, yes, there's obviously bad stuff happening in the world right now, but for the vast majority of people in America, everything is going so good that we are inventing problems to have.
Mark Manson talks about that. Have you read Mark Manson?
No.
At all? Dude, you got to read his books. You've never The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
No, I've seen the book, but
and then Everything is F'd. Right, I'm not going to say the word. I don't want to get demonetized. Well, but yeah, dude. Literally, he breaks it all down. Right, he talks about as a civilization, as a society, the better that everything is progressively getting, the more miserable that people are, and it's a paradox, right? And he breaks it down and he really elaborates on it. I actually really like the way that he talks about it. But you should read the book.
That sounds right on my alley.
But dude, it's awesome, man. It's like he's actually pretty intelligent, I think, when it comes to some of this stuff where. We live in a world full of paradoxes and all this weird stuff. But yeah, dude, think about it. I mean, as the world has progressively gotten better, like you literally said everything perfectly, right? You got the internet, everything's at your fingertips. Like you can order your freaking food and it'll be here. You don't even have to move.
Right.
And your food will just be in front of you, right? Like anything you need, right? And people are miserable.
Right.
Isn't it crazy?
It's because things have gotten too easy.
Right.
We got to invent problems for ourselves. I mean, I think it honestly does go back now. Again, I'm no scientist or anything, but I think people were meant to like constantly have struggles and need to figure out where to sleep and what to eat. And now like it's just everything is too like conditioned and cozy for them that we have to make up problems.
Dude, I think you're so right.
I'm telling you, I've just brainwashed myself to like, it's literally to a point where I recognize it. I mean, obviously there is bad stuff out there, but I have brainwashed myself into only seeing the good.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's against that or think that that's bad, think about what you're arguing against.
Yep.
Why would you not want to be brainwashed like this?
Right. I know. Yeah, and the people. Why would you? If you're arguing like that, you've got to look at why you're doing that, right?
Yes.
Because you've really got it all wrong, right? Why wouldn't you want to be an optimist? I mean, if I had the choice to be an optimist or a pessimist, I'd choose optimist all day long.
Oh, it comes down to looking in the mirror and having that hard conversation with yourself.
Yeah, it does. And you've got to really, really take that conversation seriously, and then you have to implement the change.
Yes.
Right? You've actually got to take the action.
So on like a smaller scale, like what you're talking about earlier with Mark Manson is what's that quote of like strong men make good times, good times make weak men, and weak men make hard times.
Exactly.
It's that cycle, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing within yourself. Is that you have to go through that hard time of recognizing what's going on. You need to become a strong man and face whatever problems it is you're having, whatever deficiencies you have. Deal with it, come to terms with it, evolve, come out of that cocoon, and all of a sudden, it's all good times.
Yeah, I love that. You're somebody that I would imagine has a morning routine. There's something you do when you wake up. You just strike me as the kind of person that you've gotten it a lot more together over the last couple of years since you used to go to Old Town a lot, and you've really started to dial in. Not that you're perfect. Nobody's perfect, but talk to me about your morning routine. What does your average morning look like?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. For the longest time, I was not a morning person, right? Because I'm waking up hungover all the time. But nowadays, it's habitual. I don't even have to think about it. I wake up, I go take a pee. And then I go and I drink some water. And then I'm getting some carbs already. And I'm in the gym. This is all happening in the first 30 minutes of waking up automatically. Like, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to decide if I'm going to the gym. Already, my habits know that the night before I'm falling asleep, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the gym before I even fall asleep. Like, I know. And that's another tip I'm going to give all of you guys. If you struggle to get up and work out in the morning, is you need to say in your mind, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to lift back and buys, whatever it is, right? But make that plan beforehand. But anyway, I do this automatically. Wake up, go to the gym. After I go to the gym, I do cardio, and after that, I'm going to the office. This is what happens every single day, with the exception of like on Sundays or sometimes Saturdays if I don't go to the office. But I wake up, I go to the gym, and that's been the biggest thing for me.
I love that.
Is fitness. And
do you meditate at all?
So I was having a conversation with this with my team because we were talking about one of our guys was saying that he's always been interested in meditating. He finally decided to give it a shot. I have tried meditating, and I've just never fallen in love with it. I've tried it a bunch, but what I've found is that I am meditating just throughout different points in my day. It's just I'm not like consciously sitting down going, right? Instead, it's like when I'm driving, most of the time I'm not listening to music when I'm in the car. It's absolutely silent, and I'm using that time to do exactly what we're talking about. I'm thinking about who is it that I want to be? What is it that I want to be doing? How do I get there? Things like that, and that's my version of meditating, is figuring out what it is I'm doing. I do the same thing like a lot of times when I'm doing cardio. Like, so every single day after I work out, I'd go 15 minutes on the treadmill, walking at 3 miles per hour on a 12 incline. During this time, I'm not listening to music. I'm not watching a show, anything. Sometimes I'll be working on my phone, sending emails, editing TikToks and Reels, something like that. But for the vast majority of the time, I'm using this time to envision greatness. I am seriously like having daydreams about shopping for $12 million houses, about getting that text from Grant Cardone saying, hey, look, I need you to jet out to Miami because you're speaking at this thing, or I'm whatever it is. I'm seriously thinking about that stuff. And this is crazy. I know it is, but I'm going through, it's just so to the point, and I'll get so wrapped up in these things. I have like damn near brought myself to tears several times just out of pure excitement. I do that every single morning, and then I go out and attack the day.
Right.
Like, can you imagine how if you spent 15 minutes every single day just hyping yourself up, thinking about amazing things that could happen to you, how much better off you'd be every single day?
Way better.
But that's a habit. No, it's not like I woke up one day and just started doing this. This is a collection of taking some steps forward. Like growth is not like this, right? You're going to go up and down and everything. But it's just gotten to this point where in the morning I'm set up to do these things that just get me geared to win.
Yeah. I love that, dude. I think that, growth is not linear. It is exactly like we've all seen that thing floating around on like Instagram or whatever, where like there's like it shows you like the entrepreneur, like, you know, journey, and you're like you start here, you end up there, but there's a lot of that in between, right? And I couldn't agree more. I think that you have to just do it, you have to implement it, you have to get better at it, and you just got to get 1% better every day. Ultimately, Talk to me. You said that you have a girlfriend. How long have you guys been together?
So it's actually like crazy coincidence that we're even together. I met her 2 days before I left Alabama for good. So this was back like during COVID, met her at a party and just instantly hit it off with her. And anyway, I kept like going back to school just to see her, whatnot. She ended up moving. So she's from North Carolina. She ended up moving here to Arizona. Like I asked her to be my girlfriend after like 2 days of knowing her.
Wow.
Like it wasn't actually that long, but it was like probably 2 weeks, like something like that. And anyway, we've been, since she moved here, we've pretty much just been living together. So it's been like 2 years now of living together. We've been together for over 2 years. And it's crazy because I was never really like the girlfriend kind of guy. But since like meeting her, it was just, it was instant. It was like it's cheesy to talk about and everything like that. But I saw her and I was instantly tunnel vision. And since then, that's been what it is. Like awesome. I've just, she's perfect. She is my soulmate, and like she helps motivate me to become better. And that's another thing too, dude. I mean, if you have a girl that's on your side, like behind all great men is a strong female, somebody that can help motivate them, and she brings out the best in me. And I wouldn't be able to do what I can do if it wasn't for her.
I agree completely. I think that you're absolutely right. I think that every there's quotes on that, right, where every phenomenal man has a really powerful woman behind him. And the opposite is also true, obviously, too, right? Where every powerful woman has a phenomenal man behind. It's whoever the entrepreneur ends up being in the relationship, they've got an equally but opposite phenomenal partner.
Definitely. In
my humble opinion. And I love that, dude. And I think that it's really powerful. Talk to me. What does she do?
So she just barely got her real estate license, but she also, you'll never believe this, she works in Old Town.
Oh wow.
She is at those clubs and stuff like that. And it's interesting because like I used to love going to see her at work, and now since this like kind of progression has happened, it's a little bit different.
She's doing it as a job though.
Yes.
And you were doing it for a different reason, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She one thing I want to say is right now, like on the internet especially, there are some people out there who are like, they really advocate about like, oh, like being a player and like, these like real G's like have like all these women and stuff like that. That's not the case. Like, I think that really the real like strong guys out there, the ones who are making changes, dude, you gotta have
one woman. Yeah. The Bible talks about it, right? Mm-hmm. Adam and Eve. Yeah. I mean, you're supposed to be, you give your to become one, right?
Yeah.
And so I completely agree. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, why do you think that is becoming a thing now in our society? That like this Dan Bilzerian thing that men are chasing. I mean, like, what is it? Ego, pride? I mean,
I think it's a little mixture of all of it, and I think it's also just like. Social media is like, gas on a flame for all kinds of radical ideas. You know, like it's like anything that's kind of shocking or outraging gets views, and so that is what becomes like the mainstream almost, is because it's so outrageous that everybody goes to watch it, and then because everybody's going to watch it, people think that, oh, that's what's normal. So there's a little bit of that. I really think like it comes from the shock factor and things like that, but I don't know. It's kind of like that's been probably a debate for a very long time.
It has, yeah.
People thinking like what it is, what makes a strong man, what makes a cool man, like things like that. And I don't know. I mean,
every dude I've ever looked up to is just with one woman.
Yeah.
You know, and they're married, and he's married, and they have a family, right? And you look at it. I mean, you look at, whoever you follow, right? But you look at, even I'll name the people on social media because those are the people that people typically know, right? But look at Grant Cardone, look at Manny Koshman, look at Donald Trump, look at whoever you want. You know, they've got a powerful woman next to their side. You know,
that's really, and I think everybody knows that deep down. Like, it's like there's no sense in like jumping around, like having like any of these meaningless relationships.
I agree.
Like really, the best things in life are come from absolute love, and that's the most beautiful, that's the best part about life, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down, and I've had all these people talk about it, and I was introduced to this kind of visualization technique. Now, I guess I do meditate a little bit. I just don't think about it. But I was told by, again, Templeton Walker to visualize dying, like thinking about like actually what it would be like if all of a sudden you were going to die, you're going to pass away. Like what is it you're going to think about? What are you going to hold most dear? And it's not anything to do with the money I've made or the cars or the watch, anything like that. It's not thinking about that. It's thinking about the people, right? Yeah. I'm thinking about my family, the people I love, my friends, my closest relationship, the people on my team that I want to see succeed. That's what I think about. Mm-hmm. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
And
you've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
Yeah.
You know, it don't work, right? It's just you don't take any of it with you, man.
Right.
What kind of impact are you going to make? You know, what are you going to do for the world? What are you going to do to change people's lives? You know, how are you going to help? How are you going to give back? How are you going to give back to the next generation, right?
Yeah.
Totally
so
agree.
that's why, like, something in my vision, I talked to you about, still trying to craft and focus on building this clear vision, is the thing I've realized that I enjoy the most, that I think that I can give back the most, is to motivate and bring out the best in other people. And so that's like where I'm at full speed ahead, is that I just want to be able to do things like this where I can get in front of people and show them that how much is possible, whether it's with wholesaling or just becoming a better person and starting to see life through a different lens where things start to become more beautiful and positive. That's what I want to do. Like when I die, I want people to be like, dude, when I talked to Tyson, like it made me feel like I could go run through a wall. It made me feel like I could do everything it was that I wanted to do. And he never said that was dumb or that was stupid or it couldn't be done. Like that's the impact I want to leave.
I love that. What when here you are, you're wholesaling, you've turned it into an operation. You're making 6 figures a month. You're doing deals. You've got people hired. You've got the acquisitions. You've got cold calling and text messaging. Right. What's next?
So I've actually since being able to bring Mitchell on the team, that's my best friend doing the operations, and also having Pops basically do all the big integrating, is I'm mostly sitting in like the visionary seat where once a week I'm focusing on like the big where are we going, what's going to get us to that next level. I told you with wholesaling it's kind of like it's not a means to an end, but that's not the end goal, right? The thing is I want to build that to create this engine that makes cash for all my other endeavors. So step 1 is let's get this to $1 million a month. Yep. That's like my peak right now that I'm coming. And as we talked about earlier, I know as I climb that peak, other things are going to show up, and then my attention will get diverted. But that's step number 1. After that, I think that there's a certain nobility, or it's very like honorable thing to do what some of these other speakers have done, speakers like Tony Robbins and Greg Cardone, of being able to get the message out to people that they are able to accomplish whatever it is they believe in and do more. And that's something I really want to be able to do. I love getting to talk to people and hear about their dreams and be able to figure out a way to help them get there. And I just want to do as much of that as possible. So the more I can spend my time sitting in front of a camera and getting hype and spitting all over it and talking about, hey, how you can do this and here's how, things like that. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So 5 years from now, I mean, here's my thing, is I've said a lot. People overestimate what they can do in a year and vastly underestimate what they can do in 5. So I'm always thinking 5-year targets. In 5 years, I'm going to be about 30 years old.
Yep.
So by the time I'm 30, what do I want to do? And by that time, I want to have the wholesaling company, like, I mean, it's under the umbrella, but it's behind me. Like that is, that is just a direct to seller marketing machine that's doing all my other real estate endeavors. But at that point, I don't even want to be in real estate. I want to be a motivator. I want to be somewhere that get me in front of as many people as possible and let me show you what you're capable of.
Have you done any speaking engagements? Have you gone and publicly spoken?
Yeah, it's crazy because I've always been like a very outgoing and just like very like what's the word, extroverted, but and I was good at public speaking too when I was a little kid. But I remember this one time, it was in 7th grade, it was for my business class, and we went over to this like shared like co-workspace, and we had to pitch them on a business idea. And it was the first time in my life that I absolutely cracked under pressure and I folded. Like I was up there, I'm shaking, I couldn't even hold my thing, I couldn't talk, like, and it was so unexpected. Like I remember my business teacher who had seen me like put on these great performances and like really be good at it was like, dude, like what happened?
Yeah.
And I didn't know. And then from then on, I like have this insane phobia of like anything. Like I was that guy where I was nervous as shit I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was really nervous to raise my hand and have to say fun facts about me in front of a class. Now I was always been able to put on a front and do it. But I've just forced myself to put myself in as many situations as I can to do it because I like love it. It's almost like I'm chasing that high. So it's like I get really nervous, but I just go do it. And then every single time it becomes more and more comfortable.
Yeah.
So just through like repeated exposure of like, for instance, the first thing was going live on TikTok. I just started going live on TikTok and making acquisition calls. And it was because I wanted to get better. And I knew that if I had to do it in front of other people, I would be at my A game. And it turns out that was true.
Yeah.
And so I started with that, and I realized like I like being in front of people and doing this thing. And then like I kind of like went on a couple podcasts, and I was very nervous, that kind of stuff. But then I found myself like to keep chasing that high. And now I'm at the point where like I still do get like a little bit maybe jittery before I like go on stage and like talk in front of a lot of people. But I don't know. It's just now. It's just like that's when I turn it on.
Yeah.
So the way I kind of compare it is back in the day when I was that other guy, I like to be the life of the party, right? And my natural environment was in a bar, in a club, and I knew how to fly around and talk to everybody and be a good time. Now it's the same thing, but it's in front of people, right? I like to perform and just go on and make people excited and make them entertained and make them, for at least while they're listening to me, to feel like, hey, this guy is going to help me get to the next level. He can, whatever he's talking about, it's making me feel better and making me see the world as a better place.
I love that, dude. And I think it's totally normal. I still, to this day, dude, I study people that are great speakers, and I'm like, dude, like, I've heard Eric Thomas talk about it. I've heard a bunch of like big speakers talk about it. Eric Thomas, I watched a video where he's like, dude, I still get nervous to this day.
Yeah.
And I find that a little hard to believe, actually, because he's like, now you look at dudes like that and you're like, dude, like you've been on a lot of stages, right?
Yeah.
Like you've been talking in front of a lot of people, like, and he's like, no. He's like, but I like that. He's like, he's like that very thing. He's like those nerves, right? Like the feeling of nervousness and not being like, whatever. He's like, that makes me be on my A game. He's like, so now I embrace that. He's like, I want to feel. He's like, the moment I don't feel nervous, he's like, I have a problem because then now I'm complacent, right? I might not deliver the best speech. I might not give it to the audience the best way that I can. And so I started kind of adopting that, right? Where for me, same thing as you, right? Like I was always phenomenal. Somewhere along the way, I probably had a bad experience. And then as I got older, believe it or not, like I got nervous, right, in front of people, which was odd because it was the thing that I loved to do, right? And so very similar to you, but I just now I'm really trying to just, hey, dude, like it's all good, man, like it,
Well, that honestly, I mean, that point you just made right there, that super unlocks something for me. That's a nugget that I'm really going to take for this. Is the reason why it is because I want to be the best. Like I want to put on the best performance I possibly can, and that's why I'm nervous.
Agreed.
And so I really like that. I'm going to take that away. Like that's something I'm going to be thinking about a lot because that is what it is. It's that I like have this expectation of myself to do an amazing job. And if I wasn't nervous, then it's complacent. You're
complacent. You don't care what people, you don't, if you're not nervous, that you're indifferent. Like you don't, you're nowhere. You just are. Like it's just, and I don't know that that's the place you want to be either. So I think that we mistake, I've read a lot of books on this too. We mistake like fear and excitement as this, it's actually the same thing, right?
Yes.
And you've read about it, I'm sure, and for people watching or listening, you can go read about it. But the feeling, and I'm not a scientist, but the feeling it's the same. It's the same chemical, right? It's the same thing happening in our body when we're afraid and when we're excited, right? And so it's looking at it and it's really converting the energy, right?
Yes.
And saying, hey, I'm not gonna be in fear. I'm gonna take this feeling that I feel right now, and I'm gonna think about it differently. I'm gonna move that, and I'm gonna control that. Instead of it controlling me, I'm gonna control it, right? And I think that's helped me a lot too.
Dude, that is exactly. I think that's what separates like the good from the great.
Yeah.
Is like think about like maybe Tiger Woods, like how much pressure he is under during some of these shots, and he's able to harness it, that fear, the nervousness, instead into just absolute performance. And I love that. Like that gives me such a way to visualize it. And I love just the concept of reframing it in your mind, of saying, no, I'm not nervous or fearful. I'm excited.
Yep.
I'm ready. Like I'm fully alert and ready to attack this moment.
Yeah,
I think that's such a good mindset shift.
If you've ever been excited, dude, it's the same feeling. You just in that moment you're thinking of it as excitement. So then when it comes to you being afraid, now you're just thinking about it the wrong way, right? Like you get that same jittery feeling of like your heart starts beating when you're real excited, right? Yeah. So there's no difference. It's just that we sometimes our mind is in control, and we got to take control again, right?
Yes.
We got to take back control of our thoughts. Dude.
I think it comes back to, dude, your mind is a garden. Yeah. We need to get rid of the weeds, get rid of the pebbles, and instead we replace that by just changing the way we think about it.
I agree, bro. What in kind of wrapping it up and in conclusion, what is one thing that you've learned that you would give like a younger version of yourself, like a particular piece of advice? It could be anything. It could be related to life or business or really anything at all, but a thing that maybe if you were to go back and give it to yourself at, I don't know, 16, 18, something like that, you'd give them a piece of advice.
The biggest thing I'd say is to stop worrying so much about what other people think and instead focus on being the best version of yourself. So do whatever you feel is right in your heart. And if that eliminates some people, it doesn't matter, because those are not people that you needed to be associated with or needed to have on your side anyway. If you always do what you know is right and what you want to do, then it doesn't matter if people don't like it, because you're staying true to yourself. And for a long time, I was wrapped up in wanting to have everybody like me and things like that. And it's like, bro, that's not the way to live. How about you fall in love with yourself? Because once you fall in love with yourself, it doesn't matter who else likes you. You're just going to naturally track the people that do, and the people that don't, that's fine too, man. They've got their own thing.
Yeah, I completely agree, dude. That is a mic drop. Tyson, where can people find you on social media, bro?
So on Instagram at Tyson Smith, TYSON_SMITH, or on TikTok at Tyson Smith REI.
Tyson Smith REI. I'll put all your information down below, dude. I appreciate you being here, man. I think this was a phenomenal podcast. And as you grow and you evolve, I have to get you back on the show eventually, bro.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I haven't gotten to say, I mean, it's been like a lot of me talking, but I do want to say for everybody is that I have been following Austin for a long time. He's a huge inspiration to me. And just to be able to sit here and talk to you has been incredible. And I really wish I got to hear more about like you. I have so many things that I still want to ask and everything. But thank you so much. Yeah. It's really been a pleasure. And I like, from what I'm talking about like being with people who radiate the same energy and the same things, like I totally feel it. And it's it makes me feel good, man.
That's awesome, dude. I really appreciate the kind words. And I'll give you my phone number after this. So you got all the time in the world to ask me whatever you want. And you start a podcast, I'll come on your podcast, So
I would love that.
That's all that matters, dude. Well, hey, everybody, I appreciate you for watching. If you're on YouTube, do me a huge favor and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Drop in the comments section below if you have any questions about wholesaling, real estate, whatever it might be. Anything that we just talked about, like drop it in the comments. Either myself or Tyson will come answer your questions. Make sure to hit him up. All of his information will be down in the description below. And if you're listening on podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're at, make sure you leave a 5-star review. I would greatly appreciate it. Tyson, I appreciate you being on, brother. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.